Okay, so when was the last time you actually asked, what time is it? It feels like such a basic question, right? But behind it, there's this hidden world of just incredible precision, really strange challenges, and a single iconic voice that broadcasts from a super remote Pacific island. So let's go find out where that voice actually comes from. I mean, really think about it for a second. How do we all just agree? How are we so sure that a second ticking by in Hawaii is the exact same length as a second in Colorado or, anywhere else on the planet? It's how we sync up everything from global financial markets to our GPS satellites. Well, the answer is complicated. It involves technology so ridiculously precise that it measures the vibrations of individual atoms. But all that high-tech gear is constantly fighting against a pretty surprising problem, our own planet. Turns out, Earth isn't a perfect timekeeper. It actually wobbles a little bit, and its rotation is always gradually slowing down. And that, right there, brings us to the very heart of this story. Because for millions of people, the official source of time isn't some app or a website. Nope. It's a clear, calm female voice broadcasting 24/7 from one of the most beautiful and challenging places on Earth. So, let's get into the organization behind all this. The official timekeeper for the United States is NIST. That's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And they run two main shortwave radio stations that do nothing but broadcast the time, all day, every day. So NIST has these two stations. The first one is WWV out in Colorado. It broadcasts with a male voice. But its sister station, WWH in Hawaii, now that one's different. It uses a lower-pitched tone at the top of every minute, and, most importantly, it uses a female voice. That one little difference is really the key to our whole story today. And believe me, this isn't just a fun little novelty. These broadcasts define what's called legal civilian time. That's the standard that matters for contracts, for deadlines, for the law. If a document gets timestamped just 1 second past midnight according to that radio signal, legally it happened on the next day. These signals have some very real-world consequences. Okay, so let's zoom in on that Hawaiian station, WWVH, because its story is just unlike any other. It broadcasts from the island of Kauai, a place most people know as the Garden Isle. Just try to picture this setting for a minute. Remember in Jurassic Park when the helicopter is flying past those soaring cliffs and giant waterfalls? Yeah, that's Kauai. The time station is literally located inside that paradise, a place that's famous for its raw, untamed beauty. But, working in paradise comes with a pretty wild set of problems. For starters, the station is on an active Navy missile range, so security is no joke. The salty air is so corrosive, it's constantly eating away at the equipment. And maybe the weirdest part, the whole place is patrolled by these super territorial geese. They're the state bird, and they are known to chase the engineers. So between missiles, rust, and angry birds, this station is in a constant battle with its own environment. And all of this brings us right back to the most iconic thing about the station, its voice. For decades, listeners all across the Pacific and even further have set their clocks to the sound of this one woman. But who is she? Is she an employee? An actress? For the longest time, her identity was a complete mystery. Just this anonymous, authoritative voice floating through the static. Well, her name was Jane Barb, and before she became the voice of time, she was one of the most famous telephone company recording artists in the country. If you've ever called a number and heard a recording say it was disconnected, there's a really good chance you were actually listening to Jane Barb. Her portrait has been hanging in the station's equipment room for decades, a quiet tribute to the woman behind that unforgettable voice. Back in the day, broadcasting her voice was this amazingly mechanical process. They used a machine called an ocron. Picture this giant rotating drum with magnetic tracks on it. Each individual word, like 20, 3, minutes, coordinated, universal, time, was on its own separate track, and the machine would physically select and play them in the right order. It was like a robotic DJ for telling time. Today, that incredible piece of machinery is gone. Jane Barb's voice, the very same recordings, are now just simple digital audio files, played from a computer with perfect reliability every single time. The technology has totally changed, but the voice is exactly the same. So you might be wondering, in an age of GPS and smartphones that sync up automatically, why do we even still need a shortwave radio station broadcasting the time? Well, it turns out that keeping time is this constant struggle between our perfect clocks and our very imperfect planet. And this gets us to this totally fascinating idea of the leap second. See, our atomic clocks are unbelievably stable, but the Earth's rotation, not so much. It speeds up, it slows down, it wobbles. So to keep our official time, what's called UTC, from drifting away from astronomical time, which is based on the sun's position, we actually have to add an extra second to the clock every now and then. Now, while WWVH's signal comes from atomic clocks, the very act of traveling through the atmosphere creates tiny delays. GPS, on the other hand, is way more precise. It uses its own atomic clocks and even corrects for the effects of relativity, making it the gold standard, accurate down to the nanosecond. So why keep the radio on? Simple. WWVH is a robust, straightforward, and absolutely vital backup. It's a lifeline for when more complicated systems go down. A time expert named David Kassler really put the whole challenge perfectly. He said, the Earth isn't terribly dependable, no 2 days are the exact same length, and really, all of this incredible technology exists just to solve that one simple problem. So the next time you happen to glance at your watch or your phone, just take a second. Think about those atomic clocks, the wobbling planet, the missile range, those territorial geese, and the voice of Jane Barb, all working together from a tiny island in the Pacific just to answer that simple question. What time is it?